Hello everyone, welcome back to Ansarkari. So today we are starting up with the next topic, which is the market structure. So first one is the perfect competition that will be discussed. So in case of perfect competition, first let's go through the assumptions which are there, which have been assumed. First is that there is homogeneous goods which are produced by different firms in the one industry, which is perfect, which is like the structure is of perfect competition, because industry has several firms which are there, so group of firms constitutes one single industry. Second, we see that there is perfect information about the prices in the market, and the firms are aware about this information, so there is transparency of the prices which are there. Firms are the price taker. This means that firms cannot change the prices, but one advantage that they have is that they can sell any amount, they can produce any amount of output at that given price by the industry. And why firms do not have the power to change the prices? Because one single firm has almost, we can say, negligible power, because there are a lot of firms which are there that in one single industry. So that is why they do not have that power to change the prices, or their share of even output when we compare it with the total industry's output is also very small. Then there are large number of firms which exist, large number of firms which are there. Lastly, we can say here in this case that like perfect information, homogeneous good, large number of firms are price takers. So I'm not able to recall that last one single assumption is there, which is there. Okay, we'll move forward, and if I am reminded, we'll get back to this. So
Sure,
first
sure.
we,
No worries.
Hanji, so uh, okay, so first we see that the demand curve. Here we will first look at the short run, and we will analyze at the level of the firm. Then we will discuss at the longer run perspective and at the industrial level. So what is the shape of the demand curve we are looking at? So we'll understand major things through graphs under this topic. So this is for the firm, this will depict for the industry, and on x-axis we have the quantity produced, on y-axis we have prices. So this remains same in both the graphs. So here the demand curve is perfectly inelastic. It is elastic, perfectly elastic. So that is the shape for one single firm in the perfectly competitive industry. Here we see that this is the price level. Also, marginal revenue equals to average revenue equals to the price. So this becomes the demand curve, and supply curve would be upward sloping. So this is supply curve. Case of industry, because it is at larger level, so the shape remains normal, downward sloping demand curve, upward sloping supply curve which is there. So this is one thing which is to be kept in mind. Now when we look at, there are three possible situations when we're talking about whether the industry or a particular firm is making economic profits, which are also known as the supernormal profits, or it is into losses, or it is making the normal profits. So in this case, when we are drawing the first situation, which is for the economic profits or the supernormal profits. So these economic profits, they are excess, or they are always more than the normal profits. So this is the situation when it leads to attraction of more firms. Okay, now the assumption was easy entry and exit in the industry. Entry and exit. This option is always available to the firms. Power which is, we can say, is there with the firms. So here we draw the graph for this. Here we have price on y-axis, x-axis is the quantity produced. So this we saw is the demand curve. Marginal revenue equals to average revenue. This is the price. So here this curve is the short run average cost curve, or this is the case for supernormal profit. So we'll take the shape below short run average cost curve, and the short run marginal cost curve will always cross this from the minimum point of the short run average cost curve. So the condition for equilibrium under the short run is where marginal revenue equals the marginal cost. This is one condition. So this point is the equilibrium point, where you can see that the marginal cost curve is intersecting the marginal revenue curve. Now we'll draw line on the x-axis. Here we get it will be produced up till here, because below this you see that the marginal cost would be less than the average cost. So this point gives us this entire area, which is the supernormal profits. Supernormal profits or economic profits, which are made by the firm. So you can see that here this line is below this price line. Price line is the line which is above. This is the price line. So prices are higher than what is the cost or the marginal cost or the average cost in the industry. So when this situation is there, you have supernormal profits, and this leads to attraction of more firms. Now because there would be more firms, so the output of production will increase, and gradually, because of increase in production or the supply in the industry, the prices will come down. So prices will move down, and we will see the situation of economic profits. So we will depict this also on the graph. This is marginal revenue, average revenue, price in case of the economic profits. Short run average cost curve, short run marginal cost curve. Now this is MR and MC are also intersecting at this point, and the short run average cost curve is also tangent to this price line, the horizontal price line, or which is the elastic demand curve. So at this situation, we say we are making economic profits. Now there is one more question which is asked, or which can be questioned in this situation, is that when the firm is making the price is equal to the average cost of production, even then the firm is, it might appear ki this is the break even point, ki there is no profit or no loss, but still we are saying that this is the condition of normal profit. Why we are saying profits? Because the cost of production is already, it is including the benefits or profits which are earned on the self-employed factors. For example, in case of labor, or in case of the managerial skills which are there, or the capital which is employed, for example, by the proprietor. So those benefits are already intrinsic in that cost of production which is calculated. That is why we say that firm is able to survive and it continues with the production. And this is also true in case of long run also. So this is the condition for the normal profit. So this is the second graph, normal profits. We have seen supernormal profits. Now how we depict the condition of loss in the economy. So in case of losses, we again draw the demand curve. So in case of loss, when the cost of production is more than the price at which the firm is selling, there would be the situation of loss, because आपकी cost of production ज़्यादा है than the revenue that you are making out of selling the product that you are manufacturing. So इसको depict कैसे करेंगे? जो शॉर्ट रन एवरेज कॉस्ट कर्व है और प्राइस लाइन में देयर वुड बी डिफरेंस एंड एवरेज कॉस्ट ज्यादा है, तो दैट इज व्हाई वी सी दिस गैप हियर। एंड ये है शॉर्ट रन मार्जिनल कॉस्ट कर्व। तो ये तो इक्विलिब्रियम पॉइंट हो गया है, पॉइंट ई, दिस इज ड्रॉन हेयर। अब ये जो एरिया है दिस इज रिप्रेजेंटिंग लॉस, द एरिया ऑफ दिस रेक्टेंगल, and this is the equilibrium quantity of production which will be produced by one single firm. Now in case of loss, if there would be loss happening, firms, they have the, we can say, the power to exit that particular market, so they will exit because they are incurring losses, they're not able to cover their variable cost, and fixed cost has also to be paid. Fixed cost example includes rent that has to be paid, so they will start exiting and the supply will fall down because of exiting of the firms, and when supply is falling down the prices will increase. So prices, if that increases, so it will equal this level of cost which is being represented, and we will again reach back the situation of normal profits which is seen here. So this is a stable condition or the desirable or ideal condition of the short run equilibrium under the perfect competition. Now the supply curve in case of short run, how that is depicted, we have already seen that demand curve jo hai, that is perfectly elastic. Supply curve ki abhi we have not talked about this, so how do we depict and explain the logic behind that? So prices and quantity, these two variables are always plotted, and this case, this is the demand curve, marginal revenue, average revenue. Then we have, this is the average cost curve. One we have, this is the average variable cost curve, and that's how we draw the average fixed cost. So if we're talking about average cost, it has two components. Average cost is a sum of the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So that is why we are breaking these two and we have drawn their graphs separately. And here we have the short run marginal cost curve will be passing through this. So this section above this average variable cost curve and this bold part of the short run marginal cost curve represents the supply curve under the short run time period in case of the perfect competition market. Now, why we are seeing this section above and not below this section is not taken to be a supply curve? The reason is that if the firms will include this section, it is, what does it represent? You can see that this curve is for the variable cost, and if the firms are not able to make up even the part of their variable cost also, then they are incurring heavy losses. And fixed cost would, it is a permanent thing, they will have to pay the fixed cost, that is rent. So that would be one loss, and another would be that variable costs are also not being made up. So if the firms, they decide it is better to shut down, this is the condition for shutting down in the short run. Otherwise there's no possibility, because in short run we see that shutting down would not be possible, because even that requires a longer time period, so that is also somewhere taken to be a fixed variable. But when the firm is not able to make up or meet up even the variable cost in the production, so it is better to stop the production, and you can stop this particular part of the loss, and you will incur only the loss which is there on the fixed cost that is to be paid by the firm. So they are able to reduce their losses by shutting down. So this is the reason why it is this section only above the average variable cost curve. So this was the aspects related to short run equilibrium and few conditions and the reasoning behind that. Now we will shift to the long run equilibrium and different scenarios, again under the perfect competition market structure only. So in this case also, talking about equilibrium condition, price and quantity produced on x-axis. So we have the price line remains the same, only the naming or the labeling changes of the curves. The shape also remains the same. Marginal revenue, average revenue. Earlier we were writing this curve as the short run average cost curve. Here it would be long run average cost curve and the long run marginal cost. The condition remains same. The long run marginal cost should be equal to the long run average cost curve should be equal to the price. So this condition is being met at this particular point, and this is the equilibrium condition under the longer time period. Now we can break this also into two sections or categories. When we see that, for example, if price is above the average cost, so this means firm is making supernormal profits. And if this is being met by the firms, other firms will get attracted to the industry. It will lead to increase in supply because of this, and as supply increases, prices will fall down. Now, here, because prices were higher than the average cost, and prices fall will make prices equal to the average cost. So this is how we are re-establishing the equilibrium under this situation. This is again the normal profit situation. Second category is when the price is less than the average cost, or we can say average cost is more than the prices. So this we just saw that when this is a situation, the firm will make loss, and if there is loss, firms will they will exit the industry. If they will exit, supply will fall, overall supply in the industry will fall, prices will increase. Here, because prices was less than the average cost, so again this gap would be met by this mechanism, and again we will see prices will be equal to average cost in the end. So this is how the two scenarios they will work out. Now one point is that we are seeing that equilibrium condition is always at the minimum point of the long run average cost curve. Why this condition is said to be the stable thing? You can see that the tangent point is at the minimum of this U-shaped LAC curve. So this signifies that the firm is producing at the optimum level of scale. We can say that scale of production. Second is firm is enjoying economies of scale, which is happening when firm produces a lot using technology, which improves the efficiency and which brings down the cost. So firm would always want its cost to be at the minimum, and this is the minimum point. So that is why it is representing the economies of scale, which is driving more benefits and the increasing the profit margins for the firm. And there are certain social benefits also arising out of this. So two social benefits: one would be resource use efficiency. We can source use efficiency, which is minimizing the waste, because again resources are available in limited amount only. And second is allocative efficiency. This is achieved when we see price is equal to average cost, and this leads to maximization of the satisfaction of the people also. So this is, we can say, the qualitative aspect also being upheld by the production being done at the minimum point of the long run average cost curve. Now there is also one question which is very, we can clearly raise, or out of the entire explanation that we have seen so far, is that under the long run equilibrium condition, can we say that the firm is making zero economic profits In the long run, we are talking about. So that is important to keep in mind. Under the long run equilibrium, the firm will make zero economic profits, or we can put this up as also making normal profits. It cannot earn supernormal profits in the long run. Now, this is true. This is also understanding the adjustment mechanism under the long run. So we will see how adjustment happens from short run to the long run conditions to achieve equilibrium. This is marginal revenue, average revenue equal to the equilibrium price. Now, this is the long run average cost curve. Now here, if we want to, we can say zoom the situation, for example, at this particular point, which will depict the equilibrium condition under the short run. Because short run equilibrium, all of that combines, and over a longer time period, it leads to long run equilibrium. That is why we can see how we will depict this here. Short run average cost curve. This is the short run marginal cost curve. If you remember the diagram that we were drawing under the short run equilibrium, so it is exactly the same thing. So here this will lead to, for example, if the price line is this under the short run, so this you can say this area is depicting supernormal profits being earned by the firms under the short run, and this will lead to attraction of more firms. So as more and more firms will get attracted, supply will increase, production in the economy or in that particular industry will increase, and because of increase in supply, the law of demand also states that the cost of production will decline and also prices will decline. So as prices, because prices at this point under the short run, now it has to decline up till here. So this is the equilibrium point, the minimum point of the LSP. This is the short run average cost curve, short run marginal cost curve, and also the long run marginal cost curve will also pass through this single point. So that's how we will see how economy readjust, forms equilibrium readjust on the long run, and we again achieve to this situation, this point, the minimum point of the LAC point E, and here again we are seeing it will only make normal profits. So we are able to prove the question that we raised here, that yes, in the long run firm will make only zero economic profits or only normal profits, because at this situation we were seeing the condition under the short run, it was making supernormal profits, but the possibility of making supernormal profits under the long run is it does not exist. So we are able to prove this also. So in the end, if we have to summarize the long run equilibrium condition, prices should be equal to the short run marginal cost curve, the long run marginal cost curve, and the minimum point of the long run average cost curve. So this is the long run equilibrium condition. Now, under long run equilibrium, long run scenario, there are three types of supply curve for the industry. The shape of the supply curve will depend upon the scenario as far as the cost conditions are concerned. So one is, for example, what would be the shape under the constant cost industry. So how we derive the supply curve, we will understand that. So we will draw two separate graphs. And understand how things will readjust and how we'll get the shape of the supply curve. So this is for the firm, one single firm. This is for industry. And we have to see here the first graph, because the supply curve it would be derived in this industries panel. So in under the again short run or the firm level, not the short run, it is only long run. MR equal to AR. This is the price. Now, because it is constant cost, so the long run average cost curve will not change. The cost conditions are not going to change. The LSE curve will not shift because of this. And for the industry level, we saw this is the demand curve, and here we will see the supply curve. So this line would be intersecting at this point. So it has to be at the same level. So this is one condition. Now suppose the demand or the new firms are entering. So the demand for the products increases. So this is a new demand curve, D dash curve. We'll see that for some time the price will increase. The prices increase in the economy, but here you will see that LEC curve is not going to shift. So we have to ensure that when the demand has increased, so more firms enter, they are making again supernormal profits. So in order to ensure that supernormal profits now turn into the normal profits, the supply will further increase. Now, as supply increases, because more firms are also entering, so supply curve will shift right, or we also call that the supply curve shifts downward. It would be again back at this particular point. This is a new supply curve, it shifts down. So you can see again this the same price level, the price level at P has been restored, which is at again the minimum point of the long run LAC curve. So if we have to draw the supply curve, this is what we are deriving here. So we join these 2 points. So this is the flat or the line parallel to the x-axis is the supply curve when there is constant cost industry. So this is the supply curve of the industry under this situation. Second is when, for example, suppose we are talking about the decreasing cost industry. Decreasing cost industry. So why we say that, how in reality decreasing cost industry can even function, or how that occurs. So for example, when there is economies of scale, more production is taking place, and because of that, as more production is taking, efficiency is improving, there are technological advancements and improvements with the help of like industrial revolution, and then we saw that assembly line production happened, that led to increase in the economies of scale, so that led to reduction in the cost. So that is one real life scenario of decreasing cost industry also, but we have to also ensure that that is under the perfect market conditions, which are very rare in real life. So we'll derive the supply curve again under this scenario also. The things remain same. This is for firm, this is for industry. Now decreasing cost, so we'll just draw the basics first. The LAC, MR and AR. Initial price level is this. Downward sloping demand curve, upward sloping supply curve. It matches with this level of P price level. And this is the long run marginal cost curve. So initially our equilibrium and the price level is at this level. Now because of economies of scale, there is more demand. So demand curve shifts to D dash level. Prices for some time period, they shift at this level. And for example, here this is the case for decreasing cost. So we will see that with time, with increase in production, we will see that new LAC curve would be shifting down because the cost is decreasing. So that is what this curve is also representing. So here in this case, we will see now the new price line will be this P dash, for example. The prices will also fall because supply is also increasing now with the economies of scale. So more firms will enter, and here the new long run marginal cost curve would also be there. So you can see that the new intersection point when the supply increases would be at this level. So this is E and this is E dash. This is new supply curve. So you will see now the new supply curve under the long run would be when you join these 2 points. So you can see if it is decreasing cost industry, the supply curve is also downward sloping. And in case of constant cost, it was a flat line. One scenario is left, which is the third case, the increasing cost. Increasing cost industry. So here, because the cost is increasing, the supply curve of industry would be upward sloping. Prices, quantity on the x-axis. Now, initially the price level at P. Now, in this case, because there's increasing cost industry, so we will see when the demand shifts up, D dash level, and the cost is increasing. So firms are making losses now because cost is higher than the prices. After the, for example, now the new LAC dash curve has increased up. The LMC dash curve is intersecting at this particular point, or if we have to draw this a little up. So if LAC shifts, LAC dash shifts up. Now this is the new price line. P dash prices has increased. So because increasing cost, so firms will now exit here, and because of that, supply will reduce, and the shift will happen towards the left hand side, or the supply curve will shift up in order to depict reduction in the supply. So here we see that this is going to be the new intersection point. Initially we started from point E and now we are at E dash. So the new supply curve would be joining these 2 points, so it would be upward sloping. Supply curve of long run condition for the industry under increasing cost conditions. So these are the 3 scenarios that we can say. And here we complete with the perfect competition, the assumptions, the short run conditions, and the long run conditions. And we have dealt with the small intricacies also, how changes are happening, how different types of profits that are depicted on the graph, how 3 types of supply curve of the industry is drawn. We have seen the demand curve of the firm under the short run, that is perfectly elastic or flat to the x-axis, and the supply curve is above the short run variable cost. The upward section of the short run marginal cost is the supply curve of the firm under the short run. So these are important things, and we are completed with the perfect competition.